Jazzcast Pros.
Have you struggled with educating your child to distinguish between good and bad secrets? Today's guest, who has worked with children and families for many years, created an amazing book filled with meaningful stories and illustrations which will help you and guide you in having this much needed and difficult conversation. Let's get started. Welcome to Season 8 of the Fearless Fridays with Maryann podcast. I am your host, Maryann Rivera-Dienert, and in this season, we're embracing what it truly means to live an empowered life. It's time to step into your power, reclaim your voice, and rewrite your story. Join me on this journey of growth, resilience, and fearless transformation as we explore how to unlock the tools to thrive, not just survive. Get ready to nurture, heal, and rise as we become fearless, fabulous, and free together. Today we have an amazing guest with us. She's an author.
Good evening. My name is Edna Chimhau, and as you already mentioned, Maryann, I am a local author of a children's book. I am a social worker by trade. I am also an entrepreneur and wife, mom, grandma, all those wonderful things that make life just grand.
I love that. So obviously, like me, because I get this question often when I introduce myself or people hear about all the things that I do. How do you do it all? How do you balance it? What's your rhythm? How do you do it?
Oh my goodness. I don't even know if I have balance. I just take one day at a time, right? I have a to-do list. I know what it is that I need to get done. And I just tackle each task each day, as it comes. Whatever I have to get done in one day, that's what I work on.
I love that. So tell us a little bit about your book. Tell us the title, what inspired you to write that book, and who is the book for?
So the title of my book is Can You Keep a Secret? Not all secrets are great, but some are good, right? And so it's a children's book for ages maybe 4 through 10 is, what the book says. But I also take some content from the book and apply it to my older daughter. I have a daughter who is 19. She's in college. And so I take some of those safety tips, right? Because the book teaches children how to differentiate between good and bad secrets, right? Because not all secrets are bad. And then it also can be used as a tool for educators, parents, those in social service systems, justice systems, to work with children and youth to develop creative ideas to help keep kids safe.
What inspired you to write this book? Why this specific topic?
So this book was birthed from a situation that occurred with my granddaughter, who was maybe between 8 and 9 at the time. She spoke with her mom about a secret one of her neighborhood friends revealed to her, but she wanted my granddaughter to promise not to tell the secret, right? And in our family, we don't keep secrets. Good or bad, we don't keep secrets. And so my daughter didn't really know how to handle this situation. She brought it to me and we addressed it. It was something that we had to speak with my granddaughter about and then tell her friends she needed to have that conversation with her parents. So I began to write. And it's funny because at the time I was actually working on a different book, an adult book, a clean book about aging, right? Getting older and what life looks like after 50. And so I kind of put that to the side to focus on this children's book.
What was it about this particular topic that caused you to, put the other one aside? Because, aging, especially, for women over the age of 50, it's still an important topic. But what was it about this particular one that made you pause and give, the children's one priority?
So as a social worker, I have worked with children and families for close to 30 years, right? And I thought that this would be a very good topic to bring out into the public now, right? We talk about as social workers and in different fields of helping the ACEs, right? Adverse childhood experiences. A lot of children experience trauma or traumatic events as youth, and then they kind of, if it doesn't get addressed, it can go into their adulthood, right? And so, I feel like we should have these conversations with children, whether we are in school systems, church, or home. People need to have difficult conversations with children to kind of prepare them, and talk to them and give them a safe space to be able to express things that they may experience or their friends.
So, what advice would you give to someone, especially, obviously to everyone, but particularly in the Black and Brown community, that there are certain things that we don't talk about?
Absolutely.
What happens in this house, we don't talk about it. People don't need to know our business. What are some, safety tips and some guidance that you can give to our listeners?
Pay attention to your children. Have conversations with them, right? We want to make sure that we can talk to our children in-house because they're going to learn lessons and they're going to speak to other people outside of the house, right? And we want to make sure, again, children and youth need to know the difference between what is a good secret, what is a bad secret, who can they trust, right? And so if we start having those conversations at home, then when children leave home, because again, like you said, especially in brown and Black communities, that is something that we were taught. I know I was taught that when I was growing up, what's done in this house or what's said in this house stays in this house, right? But what about when there's someone in the household who is not safe, who's not trustworthy? Right? We want to make sure that children also can identify a safe person, whether it is someone at school, if it is someone at the rec center, if it is someone in their church. Children need to have an adult or two, to be able to trust and have conversations with.
You mentioned, paying attention to your children. What are some signs that, caregivers, parents, teachers, that they can be on the lookout for to notice, changes in, little Susie or little Johnny?
Oh, that's a great question. So, one, we want to pay attention to changes in behavior, right? Changes in the way that they dress, the way that they speak. If they start to be a little more agitated or withdrawn, maybe they start to isolate themselves. Maybe they want to dress differently. Maybe they just don't want to be bothered. And I know, sometimes we have children or youth that might be introverts, right? Well, you want to pay attention to that as well. And then ask specific questions. When your kids come home from school and you ask them, how was their day? They say good. Okay, well then tell me more. What was good about your day? What was the best part of your day? Who did you interact with? Getting to know who their friends are, right? And then even having a connection with their friends' parents. Making sure that you establish a rapport and a connection, being involved with their school, with their teachers, with the principal. Know who your children are interacting with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. For the individual that, may come across, or find out that their child either in the past was, abused, or, they come forward now and find out that it's something that recently happened, whenever it happened, what are some guidance that you can give to the parents to help their child, work through it, heal, and how to trust again, especially because, as I'm sure research will show that oftentimes when children are abused are by not people that are strangers, are known individuals.
Right.
So how do you talk to a child about learning to trust again and things like that?
So one, I would suggest, again, being open, allowing the child the space to be able to freely talk, right? And take your time with them. Listen, actively listen to what they're saying, and then kind of repeat. Make sure that you're understanding what they're saying, and just love on them, and then also getting them the help and the support that they need, right? Here in Rochester, we have Bavona, where children can go, families can go, and maybe speak with some professionals about childhood abuse, different things like that. So there are places where parents can take their children to get help. And then parents may also need a support system, getting some therapy to find out, how to best handle these difficult situations. But communication is number one. Communication is key.
Yeah. And I think also too, not just the child getting therapy, professional counseling and things like that, but also the parent.
Yeah.
Because that can come with some guilt.
Right. Parents definitely need to be able to make sure that they are in a good space so they can be a safe person for their children as well, right? Because sometimes, parents may have, especially when you're coming from a single parent household, if a parent is so busy working and trying to make ends meet and, dealing with the hustle and bustle of work or school or what have you, making sure that the household is being managed properly, sometimes we might miss something. right? That might be going on with our child. And then here we're dealing with mom guilt or dad guilt, because how did I miss that? Why didn't they talk to me? Why didn't I, pay attention? So, sometimes parents can deal with a lot of different questions and blame themselves, right? So we want to make sure that as parents, we get the help that we need so that we can be well enough to help our children.
Yeah. So this season is all about empowered living. So for individuals that might be listening that may have been a victim, of some form of abuse, in the earlier years and things like that, what are some tips that you can give to that individual, to, the adults that may have been a victim of sexual abuse and some form of trauma, and now they're adults and things like that?
So same thing, therapy, and I know not everyone, especially in our community, right? A lot of us still are dealing with the stigma of mental health and seeing a therapist, but it works, right? There's no shame in getting the help that you need so you can be well, right? And again, getting some support, because having trauma in your life and not being able to deal with it and not healing, it only gets worse. And then it impacts those that are around us, those that we love, right? One way or the other, whether it is indirectly or directly, we may end up hurting someone else because we're hurt and we haven't healed. So I would suggest that if anyone is listening, anyone that has been hurt or dealt with some childhood trauma, please seek therapy, seek some help, speak with someone. Make sure that you get there's a lot of resources here in Rochester. Get the help that you need.
So you mentioned, your book is also good for, teachers and education and things like that. So when you, present or, children and things like that, and especially at a younger age, they might start giggling or, thinking that it's funny or things like that. How do you keep it, age appropriate and things like that, when you're presenting and stuff like that? And also, I've heard that when it comes to like going to court and things like that, that children should be able to name body parts, what they're actually called, not the cutesy little names that we give them at home and things like that. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So knowing my audience, number one, is essential, right? So being able to bring the content from my book to a 4 through 6-year-old class, right? Because I've read in a few schools here throughout Rochester, and knowing how to make sure that I get down to their level, right? And then if I go to maybe a middle school class or 6th, 7th, 8th graders, I make sure that the content in my book is relatable, and I can ask questions and get some assistance. I might have a child come up and help me read or help hold the book and flip the pages or something like that, and ask questions. So how do you feel? For instance, here's an example. How would you feel if someone came to you and asked you to keep a secret? Do you know how to keep a secret? How long can you keep a secret? Give me an example of a good secret or a bad secret. Right. So that's, just making sure that I'm able to be flexible with my audience and get them engaged. If they find it funny, that's good. For me, that's good because that means they're paying attention. Right. So I'm going to get that child that's laughing and say, come on, help me answer these questions.
I love that. And what about naming the body parts?
Oh,
and things
naming
like
the
that?
body parts, right. So yes, that is very important. And again, that goes back to the parent because yes, again, especially in our communities, right, we don't always call a body part by the proper term, right? If you feel uncomfortable as a parent, make sure that you talk with your pediatrician and say, okay, is my child at that age where I should be using proper terms? And we can start as early as 1, right? Because children will mimic what they hear. If you start pronouncing or telling the child what that body part is at an early age, that's what they know. But if you give it a nickname, then again, that's what they know. At 15, 16, they're going to refer to that body part as whatever it is that you taught them when they were a year old, but speaking with their pediatrician, right? And then also there are books. There are age-appropriate books, Barnes and Noble, in libraries or different bookstores where a parent can get a book to make sure that they're reading and teaching their children, especially when they become tweens, right? Between the ages of 9, 10, and 12. You want to have these conversations with boys and girls, right? Not just specific to girls, right? I was a mom with a boy and girl growing up. very close in age, and I had to have the conversation, and of course, they think it's funny at certain ages at certain times, especially boys, but I think it's important to make sure that we have those conversations because they need to know.
Yeah, that's so true. So you also mentioned that you are an entrepreneur. So what is it that you do? And tell us a little bit about that.
So I am actually starting a life coaching business. As I mentioned earlier on, I am a social worker. I've been working with families and youth for close to 30 years. And so I decided to take my show on the road and kind of do it on my own. I'm starting a life coaching business, and the name of my business is Elevation Coaching and Empowerment. I am working on getting my website up and published. So hopefully, that's something that I'm looking to launch in the very near future. And so my focus actually will be on single parents, working with single parents to empower them and, help them to create plans for elevating themselves, working
I
against
love
the
that
systems
niche.
and things. Yes, we want to make sure that we get single parents up and get them moving. A lot of us deal with challenges as single parents. I was a single mom, right? But again, not just relying on the systems, kind of debunking all of the myths and things that are said about single parents. We want to make sure that parents are encouraged and empowered to get to wherever it is that they want to be in life. Whatever your level of success is, I'm here to help you get there.
What advice would you give to a single parent that might be listening right now that's looking for that next, sense of accomplishment? Because like you said, sometimes they're juggling so many different things and they feel that, they're living paycheck to paycheck, or they could be in the system. And sometimes it's a little easier to stay in the system than it is to get a job because you have to worry about budgeting and all these different things. So what empowering word can you share with our audience, particularly those that might be single parents?
You can make it. If you want it, you can have it, right? We have to establish a plan and put the plan into action. You have to have a vision, drive, right? And with those things, you can accomplish anything that you want to. And you know what? Pour into yourself. Encourage yourself every day. It's not easy being a single parent, but you can make it. Sometimes we have to make sacrifices. It may not happen when we want it to happen, but it's okay. There's going to be some difficulty. There will be challenges, but we have to make sacrifices in order to get wherever it is that we want to be. And guess what? Not looking at what the other person has or what the other person is doing, right? Because your level of success may be different from someone else's level of success. If your level of success is simply making sure that you maintain your household, then you're successful, right? If your level of success is dealing with that trauma that occurred in your childhood and dealing with your mental health, that's a success, right? If your desire is to return to school and get your GED or your associate's degree, whatever your academic level is that you wish to achieve, you can do it, right? Let's just work on a plan. We have to have a plan of action. We have to have a goal to accomplish the things that we desire to accomplish.
So you are on the Fearless Friday podcast. How are you living a fearless life?
I am living a fearless life by, again, challenging myself, overcoming challenges, and working day by day to make sure that I remain fearless, right? Not being afraid to take a risk. Right? I like being audacious. I like to make sure that I don't put myself in a box and limit myself or allow anyone else to put limitations on me.
I love that. So you spoke about you like to be challenged. Is there a certain challenge that you're working on yourself?
I have a few challenges. So one, I already spoke about my business, right? And the other thing is that I am actually in a doctoral program. I'm in a Doctor of Social Work program through the University of Buffalo. I'm in my first semester. I'm approaching the end of the semester. And that in and of itself is a challenge, right? Working 9 to 5 and wearing all the other hats that I'm currently wearing. it's a challenge, but you know what? It's one that I wake up with every day. I wake up to it every day, and I take one day, one subject, one assignment at a time, and I just work on it. When I'm done with meeting with you on this podcast tonight, I'm hitting the books again.
Have you thought about how you're going to celebrate? I know that you just started, but have you started thinking about how you're going to celebrate once you walk that stage and you're holding that degree and you're officially a doctor? How are you going to celebrate?
Oh, I already have a plan. My plan is to visit Nairobi, Kenya. There is a place called Giraffe
Nice.
Manor, and I'm already planning on it going. That is my gift to
Yes.
myself for hard work. My motto is work hard, play hard.
Yes, I love that because oftentimes, especially as women, you mentioned that you once upon a time were a single mom and things like that. We're doing so much. We're accomplishing things, but we're always going from one thing to the next to the next, and we never pause to celebrate our achievements. And I think sometimes when that happens is we get like a little bit resentful. We still feel empty because we haven't paused to celebrate ourselves. So I love the fact that you already have a plan. And I can't wait to hear all about it.
I have a plan. So, another big thing that I like to work on, Maryann, which I like to encourage any of the listeners, self-care, right? And I know we hear that a lot, self-care, but it is important to add that into your busy lifestyle, especially as single parents, right? Because if we are juggling the role of two parents, because we are, right? You don't just have, the luxury of saying, okay, well then, you know what? Dad or mom's going to be able to take care of the children tonight, especially when it's just you, right? So making sure that you hit pause and say, I just need 15 minutes by myself, or I need an hour, right? Even as a single mom going back to school, I would celebrate myself, as you said, by at the end of the semester, my children knew, especially when they were at an age where I could leave them, I'm going to go and get some downtime by myself, right? You all have everything that you need, and now I'm just going to focus on me. And sometimes we need to hit the pause button and just focus on ourselves.
And the thing about self-care too is it says it in the word self. So self-care is whatever brings you joy. Like you said, it could be just hitting the pause, the button and just taking a quick 15 minute breather, a break, or it could be spending all day at the spa and things like that. But it's whatever brings you joy.
Right. And it's not selfish. It is not selfish. As long as your children are safe and they're well cared for, then you know what? You deserve some time.
So true. So what are you working on and looking forward to in 2025?
Oh, 2025. I am looking at hopefully publishing my second book. I'm on book number 2. And again, this is going to be a children's book. I think I am going to raise the age, right? Again, the first book was ages 4 to 10, but this one is now geared towards tweens and teens. So we're going into middle school and high school. And again, still focusing on adverse childhood experiences. And again, getting children or youth connected with people that will listen to them, people that, will help them problem solve and navigate, some of the challenges that they experience in the book. One day, Maryann, I'm going to finish that adult book.
It'll happen. As soon as you have a doctorate, it'll happen. Mm-hmm. So is there anything else that you would like to share before we say goodbye?
Well, you know what? I just want to thank you for allowing me to be a guest on your show. I appreciate it. And, I just want to encourage all single parents out there to, love on yourselves and think about where you want to see yourself in 2025.
And where can our audience connect with you and learn more about you?
I can be found on LinkedIn. I'm from time to time on Facebook, not so much, just kind of getting into the social media platforms. I will definitely make sure when I publish my website that my link will be available and people can connect with me on my website.
I love that. And I'll make sure to have your LinkedIn link profile in the show notes. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, and stay fearless.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoy the conversation, be sure to leave a 5-star review and share with a friend or two. If you're not already following us on social media, come join the Fearless community at MRD Empowerment Solutions on Facebook or Instagram, or visit our website, MaryannRiveraDanert.com. I'll catch you next week with a new episode, and remember that you are a priority and you matter.